Welcome to a very special holiday edition of the 602 Row Show. We are filming Thanksgiving morning. No promises on when the video gets put up, but this is our holiday show, so I'll put some turkeys in the video maybe. We believe this is episode 9, previewing week 7. Week 7 picks, week 6 review. So yes, this should be episode 9. So not in the studio, so we will see how this goes. But a very interesting episode. We'll get to some of the weird minutia of what happened. Uh, certainly a weird one. Real quick, here's the flash. This is the points overview for the Rose League, our standard league that we play. Uh, Week 6 picks, a little all over the place. 2,116 people tied for first. So good job to all of our winners. Even in our home league, I think there were 8 of us that tied with a perfect lineup.
I think I was 8.
Okay.
So I didn't have a perfect
lineup. And we'll get to that in a minute here. But as the rosters get thinner and thinner, it's easier and easier to pick the guys, even if you don't follow spoilers. So we'll talk about that coming up with our week 7 picks. But you definitely saw it in week 6 when there was only so many guys. We had Brendan and Clayton get one-on-one dates. So the perfect lineup would have been chalk, meaning the 4 guys that we know moved on plus Clayton. Wild cards, as some people picked, to try to level the points field a little bit, didn't necessarily work out. Olu came in with exactly 0 points. Rick had low points. I believe Martin finished negative. So not a great week for making up space. I mean, you'll see here up on the screen how we finished. We did both move up, I believe.
No.
Okay. So I don't have it all on my screen here. I went from 20th to 17th. Megan, where did you slide?
From 33rd to 56th, I think.
Okay, so really, from a fantasy standpoint, there's not going to be a whole lot of opportunities to make up ground. So really, where you'll fit in, keep making your picks, because anyone who doesn't make their picks is going to slide back quite a ways. But as we go into week 7 here, there's only 3. You pick 3 out of 4. So there's not a whole lot of opportunities to make up space unless we see something crazy come through. But the lineup should start looking very similar, but with the holidays and people doing stuff with their families, there's going to be opportunities to move up the leaderboard without necessarily having a distinct lineup. So just keep making your picks, keep getting them in, and you'll keep pushing through that. Do you have anything else from a point standpoint?
No, I just think, like, in terms of just like fun level, I think this is where like Bachelor in Paradise is still like pretty fun, even in those final weeks, because you can still have like a lot of movement point wise, just with the different edits people get, or with like the time spent on different people, versus like in the regular Bachelorette, Bachelor seasons, you're really just cruising at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be real formulaic. You're going to plug in pretty much what you have. It's going to be 3 this week. It's going to be 2 next week. It's going to be the men tell all, and you're going to pick a winner. So anybody following any kind of spoilers is going to have exactly the same lineup. Like I said, barring anything crazy that we see in previews, it's not unheard of for someone going home to outscore the winner. It's real uncommon. The way the points fall out, losing the points or going home, it's just you pretty much chalk the rest of the way. But we'll get to that when we get to our week 7 picks. But as you see on the screen here, myself, Myra, Megan, Ashley, Red. That's the top 5 for the home league, for the 602 Row Show League. So really a great job by everyone. I think everyone who's played weekly is in the top 50% globally. And then we have some people who make picks here and there. And Their averages are great, and that's what I'll say about our league, top to bottom, is that pretty much everybody picks well. All right, we'll jump to our big three. I almost wanted to do a love, a hate, and something we're thankful for, in the spirit of the holiday. But maybe we'll add that as a bonus because I do have a surprise. But my love was what I'm calling the kids v Martin.
Yeah.
The voiceover of the little blonde girl over Martin talking was hilarious. They
Yeah.
saw right through that goober and hated him.
Yeah. And whether that was producer prompted or kid intuition, we don't know. But yeah, it was cute.
Say kid tuition.
Kid intuition.
I thought you shortened it into one word. And I was ready to
Kid
shot your way. Yeah.
I mean, I
What
don't know.
was
I've known to make up words before.
what was your love for this week?
Um, so my love for this week was the way that Michelle broke up with Clayton. It was just like it was she took like that very stereotypical, like it's not you, it's me. But like really, I don't know, like made it feel real, which I appreciated. You can see your face that you're not buying what I'm saying here. But no, I felt like she did a good job. And like, I appreciate her comment of like, um, I'm saying that something's missing, but it doesn't mean that you don't have that thing. It's just that like the connection's not there. Right. And so I don't know, like I felt like she did a pretty good job, especially compared to maybe some of the other people that we've seen on the show, with doing the breakup and trying to make it less about like there's a flaw in you or there's something missing in you and more about it's just not here for me.
We were watching with a friend here at the Denims, and she's not as deep into this bullshit as we are. Uh, and she was very upset that Michelle picked up the rose and held it while she was telling Clayton everything that was wrong with him, and then put it down. And Ash looked over at her, and she goes, "Just you have to do that. It's contractual. The producers make you pick the rose up."
Yeah.
And I was trying to put myself in the situation, and like if she picks up that rose and puts it back down, I'm so mad, so mad.
Yeah, because they want the tears, they want the explosiveness, like they want the commentary after.
But as much as I hated that, not my hate. My hate was those horrific khaki pants that she wore on her date with Clayton.
Oh, I didn't
She's
mind.
she's standing up against the limo, and we paused it. I'm like, what in the ever living fuck is she wearing?
Mhm.
They have dressed her so well. My objections to her dress are well documented because they've all been on this damn show. Those pants were absurd. And that's my hate for this episode.
I did not mind the pans, but I know you and I have different clothing likes for women that we've documented off the show. um, my big hate for this week, probably to no one's surprise, if you know me, is the fact that Brandon asked for Michelle's parents' blessing. um, because as a independent woman in the 21st century, that's not something that needs to happen anymore. That said, I did super appreciate Michelle's parents' response, which was amazing. So
I do appreciate that the head canon, right? For me, mentally, he asked for their permission while still wearing her father's swim trunks.
he did not. He was in his clothes again.
That's in my head. Like his dad's swim trunk, her dad's swim trunks are still under his clothes. He is asking for their daughter's hand while wearing her father's swim trunks. That's just where I went mentally. what was your surprise for this episode?
Would it be better if he was wearing something else? Would it make it worse if he was wearing something else?
Like you said, the whole thing was a little off-putting. But we've talked about how young Brandon is, and Michelle has come across with very traditional values.
Yeah.
So it didn't seem horrifically out of place. Not something I think needed to happen, but it didn't seem out of place for him to go there. But as you said, the way the situation was handled overall, I think was real clean. But I hate that he did it. I don't hate Brandon for it, if that makes sense.
Yes. And I agree. I agree. Yes, same. Like I said, it's something that happens, and I feel like at this point it's almost expected that it's going to happen, like on the show. Like it's just like part of like what Bachelor Nation is some of those traditional values, or those traditional uh just acts of service. That again I'm never going to love. And I acknowledge that watching it, which is part of why I have to do fantasy to make myself be okay with watching the show.
Fun. I mean, it's just fun for us, right?
Yeah. Okay, so my surprise was I clearly am not super great at math because I was very much not anticipating the hometowns for next week. And so going from 8 guys to 4 guys was a surprise for me. I was not
So
this episode.
they pulled a quick one on us. I think we were talking about on the last show. We thought Rick had another week. We thought we'd go to 5.
Yeah.
So really early in the episode, the guys are talking, a producer prompted discussion, and talking about how 4 are going home, and if you stay, it's hometowns. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
So we week 7, 8, 9, and a men tell all. Right. So the men tell all falls somewhere in there.
It's 10 total episodes. But yeah.
So we're gonna go from 4 to 3, 3 to 2. But yeah, that was not what we were anticipating from a show format standpoint. And it had the potential to burn some of us for fantasy. But also from a strategic standpoint, just not what we were expecting.
Yeah.
What it tells me. But go ahead.
I can't remember like a season where they've cut 4 guys right before hometown. Like it's usually 1 or 2 guys go home right before hometown. So like this felt, I mean, like, she halved her guys.
And I think part of it is that she sent Clayton home in a 1-on-1.
Yeah.
She sent Martin home for being a douchebag.
Mm-hmm.
So some of that fluff, they just needed to format the show differently because she's just like cutting guys all over the place.
Yeah.
I was saying while we were watching, I wanted to see the dates, because I don't think that this episode was filmed too long before the Clayton as Bachelor stuff came out.
Okay.
I think that some of the cuts that were made were very surprising. And it's still very producer driven, but we've seen a few times where Michelle's done things, or is at least portrayed to do things differently. I think these cuts they feel unorthodox because I think they were.
Yeah.
But we'll get to some of the detail on that a little bit later here.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like she talked about too in the episode of like, I mean, like she knew who she wanted for that top 4.
Yeah, I have some feelings about that too. That maybe we'll get to, maybe we won't. My surprise was that Rodney is a handshake whore.
Yeah.
Really good about his Michelle's secret handshake. It's something they can connect on. And then these kids show up, and Rodney's like, "Oh, I only have 2 things that make me special. I shave my nipples, and I do cool handshakes."
But it was a different handshake.
At least, can you imagine if it was the same handshake? He's the handshake guy, but everyone's secret handshake is just the same handshake, so he only has to learn one.
Yeah.
God, that would. Uh, I hadn't even considered that. That would be horrible.
Yeah. Oh no, I watched. I watched because I was like, because he did it with the kid first, and then he did it with Michelle later on the date, and was I was eagle eyeing that handshake to make sure it was different.
Watching with someone I don't know as well, who also doesn't watch
Mhm.
frequently, makes me realize how big of assholes we are as we talk over the entire episode and make fun of every contestant and just are generally mean spirited. We're sitting here and like the fifth time that we pause in the first 10 minutes to like just catch her up on all the shit talk that we've done about guys because like we glance at each other and we're like, oh fucking Rodney, goddamn, this guy never doesn't even know what an apple tastes like. And she's like, what? It's just like trying to get caught up on all of our bullshit on top of the narrative. It's like, oh, we're actually just assholes.
No, I mean like that's. I think that there are like two ways of watching The Bachelor and Bachelorette, right? There's the you truly believe the narrative and you're like invested in these people. And then there's the I need to shit talk it to be able to like survive it. Um, and like you're in one of two camps. Like there is no gray here.
It's still not Are You the One? So
That's
this is
fair. I mean,
this
it's
is pinky
also it's
crust
also
safe.
flavor of love. So
The who are not initiated into the cult. Last night was the 200. Last night, Tuesday night, was the 200th episode of Bachelorette,
yeah.
which is not okay. But you know it's like you said a labor of love. This is what we choose to do with some of our free time every week.
I did, because I was out with a friend yesterday who doesn't really watch, and so she was like, "Yeah, I feel like it's just been on forever." And so I actually looked it up. The first season of The Bachelor aired in 2002. So this show is 19 years old. Next year it's gonna be it's gonna be 2 decades old.
And that is the end of the 602 Row Show. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this journey.
There's your knowledge drop.
you, you, all right. Well, do you have anything else you wanted to hit on before we move into the person by person breakdowns?
Um, I mean, just in general, so just like overall for the episode stuff, as soon as I saw the children walk on the show, I immediately said to my dog who I was watching with, I want to see these kids' releases. Like one, how are they chosen? What is this release that they and their parents had to sign on for? Because it's ludicrous that these children who are her students are on the show. Um, Absolutely ludicrous. Um, the farm analogies that Michelle was like really stretching for, really trying to make all the elements of working on a farm work for a relationship, killed me. And that's what I have.
I think that is more than fair.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll go ahead and move into Michelle in general. It's actually a great segue as we one of her weaker episodes, in my opinion. Very producer driven.
Although it was like producers, but like they kept calling them the kids.
Yeah, that you know what though, I'm okay with that. If they want to plug kids in and just blame everything on the kids for every episode for the rest of the time, that's totally fine.
Fair, fair.
Like, I don't believe for a second that the kids are the ones who put candy and pizza in that limo, but amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Michelle could not have been more out on Clayton from the beginning.
Yeah.
You could see it in her face in the limousine that this was procedural. This was the one-on-one that had to happen because I like again, we need to see the dates, but I think they had realized that Clayton was going to be the bachelor, even if they had told him.
Hmm.
So we could talk more about Clayton coming up here. Michelle had a white wine after dark,
She did.
and I'm sitting here freaking out, wanting to scream at her for it, and the girl we're watching with is drinking white wine, so I'm trying not to be a dick.
Incredible.
But we also were running short on liquor, and I thought about opening the bottle of white wine, and I said it to Ashley, and she's like, "If you drink white wine, I will never live it down." And I'm like, "Yeah, I can't do that after all the shit I've talked for a year."
Yeah. And it's all documented on here.
Yes, so I need to be very careful with the things I do and say. Uh, I had two other notes on Michelle. One is also related to Clayton, which I guess I'll throw in here now. She says, "You are enough,"
Mhm.
and then proceeds to tell him how he's not enough.
But she didn't tell him how he's not enough.
She's not enough for her. He's not enough for her, and
No,
she's like,
I,
I mean, the gist of it for me, the way it felt as a man watching was like, okay, so I'm going to tell you the things you need to prop up your fragile ego while also being very Michelle and telling you that I have zero interest in you because you're not interesting. It felt harsh for
Mhm.
her. I have
Fair.
no issue with that in general, right? Most guys are all guys are assholes. But that felt harsh for her. She's been so honest.
Mhm.
That was a bold-faced lie. So it just felt off-putting to me. It felt different for me, and I wonder if it's not additional role that would normally get cut from a one-on-one like this, but they needed to build the Bachelor character, and that line will absolutely be played in the first 30 seconds of Clayton's season of The Bachelor. You know, you're enough. You're just not enough for me, and the unrequited love, and it felt like a line that would be cut under normal circumstances.
Yes, I would agree with that. I don't know. Again, like and maybe part of it too is that at this point, I think we've we've heard the Bachelor narrative too of like people constantly coming off of the show feeling like they're not enough or they're unlovable, right? That was Ben Higgins' line is I'm unlovable. Um, and so like I do wonder if like
How dare
some of
you,
the phrasing, what?
how dare you bring Ben into this episode?
He's happily married and on his honeymoon, so like must talk. Um, but but no, like I don't know, like I do wonder if part of the phrasing that she chose to go with is because of that like stereotypical like Bachelor like narrative that keeps happening. But like I said, like I respected the way that she did it because again, I think she tried. Were the words that she chose the best? No. But like I think that she very much tried to separate like this isn't about who you are as a person. It's just you are not what I'm looking for. Right? Like you are not like I am not feeling the connection with you. Right? Like this isn't like a diss on you. Like this isn't like an attack on your character or who you are. This isn't me saying that you are not enough as a person. It's just me saying that you're not my person. And like I felt like that was the intention of it, which again, like I appreciated because like we haven't always gotten that from like these big breakups that we see on The Bachelor and Bachelorette. And so like I said, I appreciate the way that she tried to go about phrasing it.
Okay, thank you for taking the thing I was angry about and ruining it.
I mean, that's why I'm here.
I had one other note on Michelle, and I have to credit first Ashley, who noticed it immediately, and then Jazzy, who we were watching with, who noticed it next, and me, who just denied it until it was too obvious to ignore. Michelle was ripped on the group date, on the after party for the group date. She was drunk, and I chalked it up as disinterest. And Ashley immediately, she's drunk. And then it became more and more apparent that she was drunk, and I still wasn't buying it. But by the end, I think she was sitting with Rodney,
Uh-huh.
and she's lost. She is not even present. So I like that from the Bachelorette because I think it's an interesting power dynamic. We saw it a whole lot with Hannah B, who
Yeah.
had the tail, Irish flush going on.
Yeah.
We hadn't seen it with Michelle yet. And if I had to spend a whole night with those guys, I would also be drunk. So I definitely get it. But it was a different side of her that we hadn't necessarily seen yet. And part of it's the edit. But I was happy to see that yes, Michelle is drinking at these parties. So that was just an interesting one.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
I did not notice that.
Go back and watch the after party for the group date. It's interesting. She's very much in a different element than she normally is. The facade of control kind of falls away a little bit, and she's a little more loose.
Yeah. It sounds like I was last night.
Blackout Wednesday, y'all. So I'll take a moment here. No, we'll go straight into the eliminations. I apologize. I'm working off a notepad instead of my normal maze of delightfulness that I have in front of me. Elims this week: Clayton, Olu, Martin, Rick. We went from 8 to 4. As we talked about earlier, a little bit surprising going to Final Four that quickly. Clearly, the guys knew, which means the producers knew, or that footage was shot later, or in speculation. The show is what it is. We thought there was another week before Final Four, but these eliminations are pretty much what we knew. Even before ABC dropped spoilers, we knew Clayton was probably going home on his date or shortly after. I guess that's where I'll start. Clayton got a very unusual edit.
Yeah.
That's not something that generally happens. I'm not surprised that he was still at the hotel the next morning. We make a big production about packing the bags and getting driven out, but realistically, they're not going anywhere in the middle of the night. They're not driving them to the airport, right? It's part of the show. It's fake. I hate to break this to everyone at home, but this show is fake. So I'm not surprised that he's at the hotel in the morning, but very surprised at how it played out. The thing I kept thinking of is I'd like to see this B-roll footage of every guy in every season, and whether or not they filmed it. And again, that's why I'm really intrigued in the timing of this episode. I haven't taken the time to track it down. We can time it out from the baseball date, but I'd be shocked if the producers of this show didn't know Clayton was the next Bachelor before this one-on-one date. So we got some extra footage and filming that we wouldn't normally.
Well, and that he needed it for Bachelor status. He was very calm on the date, very calm with the rejection. There were no tears in the limo car leaving the date. There was no real response leaving it other than, that kind of sucked. He needed it. He needed the tears. He needed to say, I just want that family, right? I just want kids so bad. I just want to be enough, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
If he doesn't invite that little girl to his wedding,
oh my God, I will drive her there myself.
I'm gonna call the people I know close to Clayton. If that little girl is not at that wedding, I'll be furious because if you're gonna do the fake cry breakdown, and she's like, "Please invite me to your wedding," and you don't, that tells me a lot about you.
Yeah.
I want to take a little bit of time to let you talk about your crush, your man interest, Martin.
When is Martin my crush and
You
love it?
were a huge Martin fan early in the season. You talked about how interesting he was and how into the whole vibe. And I wanted to come full circle. I want to give you a little bit of uninterrupted time to talk about your boy,
I
Martin.
feel like I'm gonna have to rewatch our episodes from the beginning because I don't know if I was that sold on him. I know I was really angry at him wearing sweaters when it was hot outside.
I have one note for Martin. It says, Martin, Meg, question.
Well, okay, obviously I hate Martin. Yeah, I mean, like and again, I think it depends on kind of what we're shown and when we're shown it. There could have been like a lot of these comments throughout the season, and we're just only seeing them in the last couple episodes. I will say, like, I was a fan of him in the way that he handled Jamie and the way that he stuck up for him. And so I will say that I was a fan of that. And I think like on some level, like I do continue to be a fan of that. Do I like his treatment of women? No.
Women or females?
Both.
Yeah, he was a lot. That's literally my only note on him. It was a very unimpressive showing.
Yeah. I mean, this season in general has just been really interesting in the way that the producers have forced drama and like forced villains too. And again, each one only lasts like one or two episodes. And again, like it seems very timed, right? Like Chris has left, and then all of a sudden Martin's being a dick, a misogynistic dick. And so it's just like, again, the thought is like, has he been doing this the entire season and we just haven't been shown it until it was convenient for the editors because they lost their last like villain and they wanted that drama? Or is it something that just came out a little bit later? Right. And so I don't know. I think that Martin probably needs to be around some strong women. Slash, he also needs to be around some men who hold him accountable for his actions and his words.
You got to get out of Miami.
Because it's also not a woman's job to teach a man how to treat her. Um,
Olu, who sabotaged himself by wasting so much time hating on other dudes instead of focusing on his relationship, also went home.
I also, though, like, I think his interaction with Michelle on the group date felt very much like a friend connection to me. And thinking back to like their other interactions, I think he's kind of always been like more in that like friend, trusted, confidant type of like role. And I don't know if there was ever going to be a chance for him to move up.
He's another pick for me. If BIP returns next summer,
Yeah.
he's gonna clean up. Reddit and Instagram are calling him Swolu.
Hmm.
Dude is cut from marble. He is absolutely jacked.
Yeah.
The one other note I had on Olu was the little girl who called him warm hot chocolate or like a warm chocolate chip cookie. We watched that 3 times here. We kept going back to it because I was howling over the audio for that. That is there's a lot in that statement. And I enjoyed all of the undertones and overtones, and that is a fantastic thing to say about Olu. He is absolutely a warm chocolate chip cookie.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have nothing on Rick. Again, was very not present, looking terrible. I don't want to hate on dudes, but like he's just not the least attractive guy in the final 15. And had some sort of connection that kept him around, and then got no time other than yanking on udders.
Yeah. And like was just very serious again. My one note is on the group date when he's talking to Michelle, I noticed he wore some loafers with his nighttime outfit. I'm not saying that it was a bad look. It's just not a look I would have chosen for him.
There have been several questionable outfits from the guys this year already. For anyone who is not initiated, Michelle gets styled and dressed by the finest of the fine. The guys bring their own clothes, which is why Nate's worn the same pair of orange swim trunks 6 times.
Yeah.
So I say that to say this: if we notice someone wearing shitty clothes at a date, they picked it. They dressed themselves in that, and this is what has been deemed acceptable in their head.
Yeah.
So it is absolutely fine to shame people for for the clothes they're wearing. It is less acceptable to do what I've done all season, which make fun of Michelle for the clothes she's wearing, because professional stylists have put her in those things. So like those horrible khaki pants she was wearing on her date with Clayton, someone picked that, and they were probably $700 khaki pants.
Yeah. Those are very in style right now.
Watch the episode if you haven't. Drop in the comments if you think Michelle's pants are stylish or not. Maybe I'll drop a poll somewhere. Maybe. Did you have anything else on the guys that were eliminated?
I don't think so. Yeah.
All right. We'll move to Brandon, and I'll put it here because I forgot to mention it earlier. So splash in theory. If I don't get it up on the screen, I apologize. Brandon scored 63 points in Rose League. I believe that's the highest of the year. Dude kisses her constantly.
Yeah.
Huge points. He also has this nasty habit of talking down about himself, which loses him some points, but he's amazing.
He has a really great habit of talking really positively about his feelings towards Michelle.
Yes. He is falling in a hard way. Yeah, 63 points. If you didn't have him in your lineup, you literally could not have come close to perfect lineup. I think he was half of my points scored this week.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It was massive, absolutely massive. We knew he had the one-on-one. If you watch Rose Show, you knew he had a one-on-one. If you watch Rose Show, you knew you had to have him in there. All that to say this: watch Rose Show. We're really good at this.
Yeah, we are, and we're funny.
We are funny. Do you have anything else on Brandon?
He's just again like I keep calling him like sweet baby angel because he is just like he feels so young. He got so excited about getting ice cream. Like he truly was just like a small child. We're getting ice cream? Like just so excited. Like you could have taken him to do anything. You could have taken him to go like shop at Walmart and he was like, we're shopping at Walmart? Like just so funny.
It's different.
Yeah. It's a good quality to have. Like it is. I mean, it's a good quality to have. I wrote down that I forgot that his entrance was the bed and how much I hated that entrance. Yeah. Because
Okay.
he made a comment about it when they were sitting in Michelle's bed, where he kind of said like, "Oh, how funny! Like we come full circle. Like I came in on my bed, and now here we are sitting in your bed."
I didn't even put that together.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he was the one who came in on a fucking bed, and it was an awful entrance. But here we are. And then I wrote down that we finally got some substance from him. So like I've been complaining about how like it just seems like he kisses really well. But yeah, like we finally got a little bit of substance as he's talking about like his grandfather and his family and just kind of like what that means. And so it was nice to see a little bit more depth to him that I'm sure Michelle has been getting, but we haven't been getting as viewers.
So as is tradition on our show, Megan brought you all the sentimental, and I'll close on Brandon by saying he is going to fuck all the Bachelor Nation girls until the time. I hope Demi doesn't get her claws in him, but she probably will. And he's gonna put some work in over the next 6 months here, I think.
I will say he almost made my surprise for this week. The fact that he didn't stand up with a huge boner when meeting Michelle's parents. Because they're there like making out in this hot tub. He's like all alone, or like they're seemingly all alone. And then parents come and he has to stand up. You best believe I was looking straight at his crotch.
Right.
It almost made it as my surprise. It didn't, but
if my rampant use of swears wasn't enough to mark this explicit, I think that would be. So I have to mental note. I have to mark this episode as explicit for our podcast, so we don't get taken down.
I mean, it's not like I said. I said boner.
Yeah, that word. No, okay. All right. So I didn't have any notes on Beautiful Eyes Joe. He really kind of took a back seat this episode, not having a one-on-one. We knew he moved on, but not a great amount of points. Obviously, part of the perfect lineup, but didn't do a whole lot. Do you have anything on Joe?
Just that he like just presents as such like a gentle soul still. I'm very intrigued to see his family next week and like how those interactions are, because like so far in the show he's been like this very like quiet, stoic like presence that has like this like gentleness to him, and so I'm interested to see how he is with his family and if like he is the same way with them or if he livens up a little bit, gets a little more energy.
Being in his hometown, in theory, the most access to family that we'll see. So it'll be interesting to see who they actually bring on and who they talk to.
Yeah.
Nate, who again just was kind of there. I was very surprised. We didn't have the group date rose coming in. We didn't know who it was going to be. Obviously, Nate, as the chalkiest of chalk, was in lineups anyway. That's not the way I read that date. That's where I would have put the rose. But obviously, he won it and was safe ahead of a little bit of chaos as some people were sent home. But I didn't have anything else on Nate.
Yeah, I mean, again, similar to with Joe or with Brandon, we got a little bit of substance with Nate. So again, I've been complaining with him too, especially like following his one-on-one with Michelle, that he didn't really talk about himself at all. Like we still didn't really know anything about him. And so him talking about kind of his dynamic with his dad, again, like in an approach for the hometowns was interesting just to get, again, just a little bit deeper with him, knowing that there's clearly something that Michelle sees that we're not seeing other than him just looking pretty. So I thought the same thing. I was surprised that he got the group date. Like given the edit and given kind of what Michelle was saying, like I would have chosen Joe over Nate for getting that group rose. But
I mean, I would also fake a back injury to get out of scooping shit out of the pen.
Yeah.
Felt very out of character for him, and the way they were kind of like filming him babying, and it's like, all right, like we can move on. I'm past this.
Yeah.
Rodney, who is the comedic relief of this season.
He kills me.
I'm not sure Rodney's ever been on a farm, and that's fine. But watching in my head, right, the reality for me was that I am watching Rodney experience the farm for the first time. And it was fantastic. It was very entertaining.
Yeah. No, he he just cracked me up, and his like interactions with the kids too. Like he just yeah, no, he was killing me this episode. And he did a really nice job getting the one-on-one time with Michelle too. Like having Michelle come in and scoop shit with him. Like that was a good play. I mean, it was a good way to get her involved and like do that teamwork. So
So those are the guys. Through the magic of the internet, now you'll see the week 7 pricing in front of you. Nate, Brandon, Joe, Rodney. It's pick 3. 3 move on. You'll see our picks in a moment here. Actually, I'll throw them up right now. These are our week 7 picks. It is going to be really hard not to go chalk the rest of the way. We know who wins. We know final 2. We know final 3. Unless something hits from a preview standpoint that has Rodney doing unbelievable shit.
yeah,
You're picking the people who are moving on.
yeah.
So you'll see here, both of our lineups are Nate, Brandon, Joe. Spoiler. Nate, Brandon, and Joe move on. Rodney goes home. From a fantasy standpoint, this is what we were talking about earlier. It's going to be really, really tough to divide yourself from the pack. Really, now you're playing against people for getting the set lineups. The position you're in is pretty much set. If you want to get really cute and pick someone you know is going home, you can make that argument. There's some merit to that. But we know final 3, we know final 2, and we know who wins. Your options are going to reduce week over week to the point where there's 2 guys left and you have to pick one. Picking the guy who doesn't win is a bold strategy.
It is. But you guys also know, having listened to the show and having followed us, that if one of the 2 of us is going to make a bold strategy, it's going to be this girl right here.
Well, I mean, you saw the leaderboard. I can tell you my picks every week the rest of the way already. It's chalk. It's whoever moves on. I'm not saying it out loud so that I don't like overtly spoil it for anyone who's made it 48 minutes into this episode and still doesn't know who wins this league. Watch the previews, pick very carefully, know your scoring system. Batch bracket is another one that we've played on before. Very different than the scoring for Rose League. The fantasizer week to week, very different. Way more point categories than the other 2. So know your scoring. But generally speaking, we all know our lineups for the next 3 weeks. May or may not be a lineup for Mental All episodes. Sometimes they drop like new footage in the Mental All so that the people who watch this for the reasons we watch have something to look forward to. But yeah, so I mean, really, what it comes down to is you're pretty much locked where you are. So you're playing against the inactives. So absolutely set a lineup. Don't stop setting a lineup. But there's just not going to be a whole lot of opportunity for movement. Right now, Thursday morning, I do not have the season long. So if I do, we'll drop it in here. Spoiler alert, me and Myra are tied for first and will not give up that lead unless something changes and the people we know didn't win.
Or like people magically come back.
Yeah, crazier things have happened, but if the season plays out the way we have been expecting it to, those should hold. Season long rankings are pretty much set. So all we're doing now is trying to beat the weekly people out of spite and malice. But yeah, that's pretty much the fantasy season here, guys. So there's a reason some people in the Rose League have never seen a finale of this show. It's because the season is essentially over. We will continue doing these shows weekly through the end of the season because we owe it to our fans.
And because we really enjoy it.
I like filming as well, but the big thing we're working on now is the preview for Clayton's season. So research has already began on that. I believe that has wrapped. I believe Clayton's season is done filming now. So we have a lot of the data. So we'll do a breakdown of that. But that's what we have to look forward to. That season starts January 3rd. So immediately out of the holidays here. So we'll get a preview episode out as soon as ABC drops the preview package, which now that Clayton's eliminated, I think they'll officially announce them as the Bachelor. And we should get that preview. So as always, like and subscribe. And we'll see you next week for some hometown dates, which should be just filthy with points. Check your lineups, check your spoilers, and good luck if you're trying to bridge the gap on some of your scoring. Megan, do you have anything else?
No.
All right, that's 602 Row Show, special Thanksgiving edition. Maybe pop a turkey right here. Turkey. Like and subscribe. Thanks for hanging out, guys.